So we explored the use of our prompt writing formula for our generative AI and our conversational AI. So engaging with ChatGPT and Google Gemini and Microsoft Copilot, asking it to do things like define or explain things, summarize articles, pull pieces of information together, create blog posts and emails and social media posts. There's a particular aspect of Gen AI that I don't think is often utilized, and I think it's actually quite a lot of fun and also really helpful. And that's the creative portion, using AI for designing and composing and painting. And in particular, I want to highlight two applications. And again, this is not an exhaustive list, but ones that I definitely think you should have on your radar. If you take a look at our screen here, I have open Microsoft Designer. And as you can see here, Microsoft Designer uses generative AI to do things like create images, and create stickers, create brandings, designs, remove backgrounds from images. It's a really, really great tool. Additionally, I also want to highlight Adobe Firefly. For my photographers and my videographers out there, Adobe has its really own great AI suite. It's part of the Adobe Sensei, and one of it's called Adobe Firefly. And Adobe Firefly is really great because it allows you to do some similar things to Designer. You can put text around your prompts, you can create beautiful images, and part of the Adobe Creative Cloud AI, you can also do things like remove backgrounds, you can blur images out, you can do some really, really great stuff with your photography, with your designs. And so I do want to highlight the more creative side of your artificial intelligence as well. And let's jump into Microsoft Designer so I could talk a little bit about some tips and tricks when it comes to prompt writing with your designs. In general, similar to what we've talked about with our basic info grabbing, artificial intelligence, making sure you have a clear goal, some clear instructions, providing some sufficient context, all of that does still apply when you're doing things like more creative prompts. But let's jump into our image creator here so I can talk a little bit about where you might want to keep in mind some things a bit differently when it comes to using things like Designer. In general, when it comes to creating things like images or art, really the name of the game here is being as descriptive as possible. So say, for example, I want to create a little badge, a little travel badge for folks who are visiting London. And in mind, I want to focus in on one of London's landmarks, which is Tower Bridge. Let's take a look at the prompt that I put together, and we can see how the AI responds when it comes to the image generation. So in this case, I'm going to ask it to create a circular travel badge with muted soft colors showing London's Tower Bridge at sunset. You can see here versus our other prompts that we were doing on things like GPT or Copilot, we're using a lot more adjectives, a lot more descriptive words in here, and that's really the point when you're using things like designing AI. You really want to get as specific, as focused in on what pieces or components of the image is that you want to put together. So we're making sure that it knows that it needs to be a circular travel badge, not just any badge, it needs to be circular. We're defining the specific colorways that we want it to use. We're defining what the focus of the image is Tower Bridge, and also adding in those additional pieces of information. We're going to go ahead and click generate, and it's going to take some time. And as we're going along, you can see some of the other great different prompts that you can use with things like Microsoft Designer. And again, the key thing is all of them are quite specific. So, things like a gorilla drinking coffee from the 1800s, and all of those extra adjectives, all those additional pieces of information goes a long way in determining how the image gets created. And you can see here are some of the images that it put together for me, and it meets all of those things that I asked for it. So it's a circular, it's a travel badge, it has that soft muted tone, and it also includes Tower Bridge with the sunset in the back. So it nailed exactly what I was looking for, but that was really based on my ability to ask it exactly for what I want. And we could change things up as we need to. And one of the great things about designing with AI is that you can continue to iterate on it. So please feel free to continue changing up the prompt a little bit, changing some of the adjectives, changing some of the components, adding more components to it. Whatever it takes to really get at the heart of what you're looking for. So perhaps maybe we want brighter colors. So instead of muted soft colors, let's do some bright colors in there. You can even do things like determining the art style. So maybe you want it to be Art Deco. Maybe you want it to be more muted. Maybe you want it to be more Picasso-esque. Add all those pieces of information, continue to iterate and edit and change as you go along, and you're going to continue to get a lot of different images to find what you like. But if you think about things from a design standpoint, maybe you want to design a brand new logo for your company. Maybe you want to have some new art to put in. Things like using Microsoft Designer or Adobe Firefly are great ways to engage with it. And you can see here, I just changed one little aspect of my prompt, and it shot back at me with brighter colors now. So again, name of the game of designing language, prompt writing, keep it descriptive, keep it heavy on the adjectives, be as specific as possible, really list out all of those pieces of information that you want, but also just have some fun playing around with the more creative side of our artificial intelligence.